Great pleasure to be here with you. Let's see if the technology works. And I've been asked today to talk a wee bit about my university and how, as the University for the Common Good, we actually turn those common good values into practice in relation to environmental sustainability. But I've also been asked to look at social sustainability and to weave in some of the work we do in our research and teaching to do it. So we feel we're quite a distinctive university because our mission is to be for the common good. And we were founded in 1875 by the City Fathers of Glasgow from their common weal fund to set up a college for poor working class women. But let me give you, some of you will know the university well, but some of you won't know us. So let me give you an idea of the scale of the institution. We have a total of 20,000 students, 15,000 on our Glasgow campus, and just over a third of these come from the poorest of backgrounds. And nearly 50% of our university students are first in their family to go to university, like me. But we've got very low dropout rates, high completion rates, and after 6 months, 96% of our students are in employment or further study. And we have had the highest rating for the quality of our teaching from the QAA. One thing I'm really pretty pleased about, though, is that we, at the last REF, that's our Research Excellence Framework exercise, we were recorded as the top modern university for research power in Scotland. We beat Robert Gordon's into second place. So I was really thrilled. But we're a values-led institution trying to harness all of our intellectual, social, emotional, as well as economic capital to make a difference. And we make a big economic difference to Scotland, £1 billion a year to the economy. That's a huge amount for a relatively modestly sized university. And for Scotland, we create 12,400 jobs every year. So, how does common good relate to sustainability in terms of the environmental impact, the social impact? We'll talk a wee bit about this financial impact because it's important to remember it. We have just invested £32 million in our Glasgow campus, and the Funding Council very kindly gave us £700,000 towards that. So we saved up £31.3 million over the last 5 years, garnered from our international activity to invest in our new campus. And I'm so delighted that we got a very good rating by BREEAM standards. You'll all know what that means. I don't really know, but my wonderful director of estates, Douglas Little, tells me it's great because it means we've used as little energy as we needed to. We haven't produced any waste in so doing, or we must have produced waste, but we've actually used good practice in dealing with it. So we have the most wonderful physical environment now for learning on our campus. And over the last 5 years, Douglas and his team have worked really hard to ensure that we send no waste to landfill. I don't know of another university in the United Kingdom that doesn't send any waste to landfill. 50% of our waste is recycled. A further proportion is reused and made into fuel, and the remainder, computers and furniture, as you saw earlier, is donated to charity. But apologies to Daniel, I don't think we use his copy. There must be competition. Oh, we do? Yeah. Oh, well, I'm embarrassed. I'm very pleased to hear that we do use his company. He didn't have us on the slide. I know. In the top 10. There you go. But it really works. So the physical environment is important from a common good perspective. And this rather boring building is our combined heat and power building that we've invested in. And it provides 100% of our heating and about a third of our electricity. But it's also a unique experiential learning theatre. And it doesn't look like it's a learning block, but it really is. So this is a unique facility for us. We're pleased to invest in it. We've introduced cycling approaches in the university, because of course we hardly have any car parking on the inner city campus now. I'm not very popular for that, I have to tell you, but we are introducing, you know, healthy exercise through our cycling, and actually we're very pleased to be a cycle-friendly campus. And all of that has combined to make us the first university in Scotland to win an Eco Campus award, which Douglas and his team are proud of. The whole university is proud of it. So that's the physical environment of our campus. And how does that translate into our research activity? Well, we're delighted to have founded the Centre for Climate Justice at the university. And we founded this in partnership with the Mary Robinson Foundation. And it's led by an extraordinary woman called Tassim Jaffrey. And Tassim's work is looking at sustainability from a justice, a human rights and justice perspective, but is very practically effective. And just last year, she was called to Paris to present to world leaders, presidents and prime ministers about the work that we can do in terms of climate and sustainability, using very small steps. Her team have been working to light up Malawi, for example, and encouraging companies to work with the government there, with schools and colleges and villages in the rural areas, to use renewable energy sources for electricity. It's made a great difference because they've been able to do away with those awful kerosene lamps that they used to use for heating, cooking and lighting at night, which caused dreadful burns and really awful infectious problems and chest problems in the young people and older alike. So it's been a huge turnaround, and we've had enormous support from the Scottish Government for the work that we're doing in Malawi. And other countries in Africa are now coming to our Climate Justice Centre and saying, goodness, you know, give us some tips. And of course, all of these initiatives at the rural, local level in emerging nations are actually led by women. It's extraordinary to see that in practice. And Tassim has been involved in food security projects, agricultural projects on the ground, promoting sustainability and climate justice from a variety of different perspectives. But back to the physical side, our researchers are also very, very keen to ensure that we actually are producing new products from the university. We have a group of scientists looking at how you can generate repairable concrete so that when it breaks on our roads, it uses particular energy from the sun, but a particular molecular combination to repair itself. Now that sounds to me fantastical, but it would be great if it can be used in a scalable manufacturing process. But what we're also doing is working on investing in making sure that buildings in earthquake areas are as safe as they possibly can be. And through our condition monitoring of electrical power plants, making sure they're as safe as they possibly can be, which is particularly important in nuclear power plants, which will be with us for many years to come. So whilst we're focusing on reducing carbon footprint and renewable energy sources, we mustn't take our eye off the ball of making sure that our other energy is as safe as it possibly can be. Whoever would have thought that fashion could be a tool for sustainability? I mean, it's, you know, really quite an interesting proposition. Well, from our GCU New York campus, we've been working with 32 of the biggest retail brands in the United States, from Macy's to Prada are there, to Saks of Fifth Avenue, Eileen Fisher, Kering, Calvin Klein. And we've been working with them to try to get them to think about their business from a sustainable perspective. You wouldn't imagine that they would be interested. Perhaps you would think that they would be interested from a legislative perspective, because prior to the new administration in the United States, legislation was coming down the track to make sure these companies operated in a more sustainable way. That legislation has now been halted. But we have demonstrated to these companies that they can be more productive and profitable, as well as be sustainable. So one of the first projects that our Vice President in New York engaged in with Calvin Klein was to help them repackage their men's dress shirts and take out all these wee pins, and the men will know what I'm talking about. Simply by refolding the shirts, she saved Calvin Klein $5 million in 1 year. And all those wee pins went away. And they were imported from China, so the carbon footprint went down as well. So they're interested because here they can do good and they can save money. And we've just been awarded $1.25 million from the United Nations for a sustainable project which will actually make sure that all of these retailers are reducing their carbon footprint in the countries where they produce their fashion garments. That is a really tough challenge. But we need to do it because, as we all know, at the present time, in countries like Bangladesh and Ethiopia, workers' conditions can be really perilous. And if our biggest retailers can save money through sustainability, they can reinvest in their building operation overseas, where the garments are being produced. They can reinvest in the health and upskill their workers. And we don't want to see another Rana Plaza as we had in Bangladesh. So this commitment by the biggest retailers in the world to look at this seriously is so important, to get them to think about sustainability. And of course, we believe that we've been able to do that by convincing them it's in the global good, but it's in terms of profitability, that's important as well. And we're quite innovative in what we do and how we do things. So this is my Vice President in New York, Karen Smith, wearing a fantastic dress that was made entirely from trash, produced by a company in Berlin called MiniWiz, who were working with us using a new kind of heat sealing, it's a secret kind of equation to turn trash into fabric that can be reused and remodeled. Cara wouldn't wear anything that wasn't gorgeous, so this is a tremendous example of how she's wearing her values, if you like, bringing her values into real life. And with MiniWiz, Arthur Wang is working with me to see if we can produce and build the first affordable university from Africa made entirely from trash. Arab are keen to work with us. If anybody else wants to come in and bring us some of their ideas, we'd be happy to talk to them. So for us as a university, social impact is as important as physical impact on the environment. And social benefit is critical to almost everything we do. Most of you who've heard of Glasgow Caledonian will know that we're an access institution. As I said, a third of our young people come from the poorest of backgrounds. And we believe that education, of course it transforms lives, it certainly transformed mine. But we believe it's important in terms of sustainability. We promote health through education. We actually genuinely promote social justice, and that will create a virtuous cycle and circle. And we have a strong team of researchers led by Professor John McHenry, who are working to reduce poverty in Scotland, but also everywhere that we take our educational offer around the world. One example of how we produce social justice and widening access in our own university is through our Caledonian Club that we established in 2008. And since 2008, we have worked with over 14,000 young people from nursery, primary and secondary schools in the city of Glasgow and the environs. And importantly, nearly 4,000 of their parents now have been working with us. We bring the families into the university to work with our staff and student mentors to learn very basic life skills. And that's even for the parents. These are chaotic families from the poorest parts of the city, working with the poorest schools in the city. They're learning reading and writing, that's the parents. So, you know, it's a real challenge. And of course, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Oxford has recently said, it's not Oxford's role to be raising aspirations for kids. Leave that to school teachers. Well, I believe that universities, you know, are institutions that are all about innovation, new ideas, new ways of doing things. And if we can raise aspirations and actually look at the way young people learn today and how we can improve it, then that is a legitimate role for a university. So I disagree with Louise Richardson, although we're colleagues, because she used to be Vice-Chancellor of St Andrews University, we fundamentally disagree on the role of university, because I believe we are for the common good. And if we have a great resource, like our great science labs, that these kids can't access in their local schools, then bring them in to use them when our students aren't using them. Make our intellectual capital available. And we know from the new Commissioner for Widening Access in Scotland, Peter Scott, he's been looking at our project and looking at the impact and benefits it has on these young people. They don't all come to our university. Some of them don't go to university at all, but my goodness, do we raise their confidence? We open up doors of opportunity. And interestingly, and maybe ironically, last year, one of the young girls, lassies from Drumchapel, who came to work with us, ended up getting a place to do medicine at Oxford. Great, love it. And it doesn't just stop at Caledonian Club. We've invested in an advanced higher hub, again bringing really bright kids in to be taught their chemistry, their physics, their maths, some of their English classes in the university, shoulder to shoulder with our students, because they just can't manage to do it in their own schools. And we've got a higher pass rate than the average for the United Kingdom as a whole, just by bringing these young people into the university. So it really works. Social sustainability has to be underpinned by good health, as I said earlier. The World Health Development statistics year on year shows that the prosperity of a nation is actually completely underpinned by the health of the nation. So in our university, our health initiatives are looking out how you can promote and enhance community health. From our Vision Sciences Clinic working on the streets with the homeless, to actually help them with their vision problems, to bringing in the oldies from all over the city to be more active and to prevent strokes, prevent diabetes, to promote positive health. Our new Centre of Living is actually focusing on how you sustain communities through health activity and the social activity that goes with that. And we haven't stopped there using traditional universities to think about sustainable communities and environments. A few years ago, our Chancellor at the University, Nobel Prize winner Mohammed Yunus, said to me, Pamela, will you come to Bangladesh and build us a nursing college? Because we've got masses of doctors, but with no nurses, and we desperately need nurses and midwives to help turn around the health problems and meet the UN's World Development Goals. I said, okay, but would you like to come and bring the Grameen Bank micro-lending bank to Glasgow in return? Because that will help us with a lot of the problems we have with people on welfare who cannot get off welfare and grow their own businesses. So for the last few years, we have successfully established the Grameen Bank in Glasgow. We have now nearly 700 borrowers, with women coming off welfare to create their own social businesses. And when we started this initiative again, there was lots of criticism. People said to me, universities shouldn't be agents of social engineering. Sometimes I feel like you know, but we should be institutions that are looking at new ideas and testing them and evaluating them. And that's what we've done. And led by Professor Cam Donaldson from our Yunus Research Centre, he's been evaluating the impact of micro-lending schemes like the Grameen Bank, like some of these new social innovations, to see if they work and how they work. So that's the role of a university. Yes, why not facilitate bringing a new idea and then see if it works. And if it works, that's great, then we can scale it up. The institution is very outward looking as a university. You know, in 2006 we had a very tiny number of international students at the university. We were rather inward looking. We had hardly any research. We're not making a huge amount of money from our international activity, about £4 million a year, but we only had 61,000 cash in bank. So, you know, shaky. So financial sustainability is important, but we reach out to the world internationally with a common good purpose, and I think it's important. Do what you know is right, you know, and actually the students and the money will flow. So for many years we've had an engineering college in Oman. 45% of the students there are women. We produce the largest number of engineers who are women for the Middle East. 70% of them get jobs in engineering, and the rest go into the civil service of the various ministries. So that's a major contribution to the role and profile of women in the Middle East. I mentioned the Glasgow Caledonian College of Nursing in Bangladesh, which is set up as a nursing, social business nursing college. We don't make any money from that. It's a social business. We needed charity to start off the social business, but now it runs on its own through the Grameen Bank lending proposition. More exciting for business is the work that we do with big companies, co-creating courses with them, not pulling them down from the shelf. And I'm really proud of the work we've done with Transnet Freight Rail in partnership with the University of Johannesburg and the Institute of Railway Operators. And what we've done is to create courses, work-based courses, that the business really wants. And my goodness, does it work. Most of the workers of Transnet Freight Rail, the South African workers, live in local townships, or have lived in local townships, or were born in their local townships. And of course, when they get their Glasgow Caledonian University degree in South Africa, they are then in a position where they can be promoted in Transnet Freight Rail to the management positions that previously, without the skills, they couldn't. And this is a really cost-effective way of growing capability, taking our educational product, our great educational Scottish project, out to the world, doing good. But we make a little money as well, and so does the University of Johannesburg. So, you know, it's marvellous. And a huge amount of goodwill. And the important thing is, in the 6 years we've been working with this company, their productivity has gone up 4.2%. And their chief executive has documented that 2.1% of that increased productivity, this is a huge company with 25,000 workers, is down to them investing in our Scottish educational product, co-created with them. And in return, their foundation has allowed our students to go out on their Pella Pepper Train of Hope. And every year, hundreds of our Glasgow students go out there to learn, to engage in supporting local people across Africa with their health needs. And given that it's successful and that it has an impact on financial sustainability, that kind of approach has been picked up by the biggest energy company in Africa, the French company ESCOM. We've just signed a contract with them for 66,000 of their workers over the next 10 years to be upskilled at Glasgow Caledonian University. And it's that kind of commitment to Africa that caught the eye of the educational entrepreneur Fred Swanaker. He's a TED talker on the extreme left of the slide, and the amazing First Lady of South Africa, previous First Lady, and widow of the late Nelson Mandela, Graça Machel, who asked our university, because of our way of working and commitment to sustainability, to come to Africa and work with them to create the first of 25 new universities for Africa at an affordable cost, and universities that will create a new cadre of ethical leaders for that continent. That's why I want to build a university out there from trash. You can see how marvellous it would be. That makes it even doubly affordable. And you might think Mauritius, the reason that Fred and Grassa wanted to base their first university in Mauritius because the least corrupt country in Africa, easy to get to for all other countries in Africa coming there. But also it's an underdeveloped nation, you know, it's desperate to grow. And wherever we go, and this is Port Louis in Mauritius, our students go too. So it is about this mutual learning that's important in this virtual cycle. And they've all been working in Port Louis, helping people after the latest flood there. And when you're out in the field, what you find on the ground, and when I was in HIV prevention, working with the WHO, I was taking out all these grand plans, you know, to countries and saying, now you've got to do this and tick here and sign here. And we will then give you money to follow these great programs for HIV prevention that, of course, we all know wouldn't work because you've got to have things that are adapted to local conditions. So with all the work that we're doing by reaching out, we're actually identifying local solutions in Glasgow as well as overseas to existing problems, rather than setting up problem-solving websites or universities having new problem-solving approaches or big research projects. We're gathering all the existing solutions together, and then we're having academics assess them for benefit. So that's a different way around. It's kind of a challenge, isn't it, to the existing university way of working, but I quite like a wee challenge. So just to briefly mention financial sustainability. Our approach brings us, and this year will bring us about £11.5 million to the university. You have to invest, of course, to bring in that money. But over the last 10 years, we've made 100 million. And if we hadn't done anything, if we'd been kept where we were and doing what we were in the old way, we would probably have made £30 million over the last 10 years. But that difference has allowed us to invest in the common good. And just to finish, what we've found at the university, and I've got the most wonderful team and fabulous students, but what we have found is that prosperity and social benefit go hand in hand. And if you invest in doing the right thing, the money will come back to you. But you've got to be in it for the long haul, because of course there can be a lot of negativity out there in the world when you try to do things in a different way. I shouldn't mention New York, should I? I'm sure some of you have read about it. That's, you know, we're going to get a decision soon. But as soon as you try to do things in a new way, people react negatively. And you just have to hold fast, because in the long run, the benefits are enormous. But I'm very happy to take any questions, because I have to stop within 5 minutes of time, I hope. Thank you. Anybody got anything they'd like to ask? It could be anything at all. Question.
Thanks very much. Dave Gorman, I'm Director of Social Responsibility and Sustainability at Edinburgh University. I'm also an alumnus from Glasgow Caledonian. I did a wonderful master's there only a few years ago. So I found it inspiring, actually. Thank you very much. It gave me lots to think about. And I guess, without putting on the spot, if you had advice for Edinburgh University, and the resources we have available to us, what would be your advice to someone like me who's trying to do exactly what you're talking about? And as you say, sometimes it's difficult. But I'd be just interested to know what you think we might be able to do from our position, or how you observe us from where you are in Glasgow. Thanks.
Oh, to have your resource in what could we do? Well, it's about what, you've got a new Vice-Chancellor coming in the next year or so. And it's about, the Academy in Edinburgh thinking, well, what could we do if we picked, 2 or 3 things that we might want to do as a whole university community. It's everybody, from your doorman right to your most famous professor. If we wanted to make a big difference as a whole university, what could we commit to? Because most universities are disciplinary led. We all have a loyalty to, for me it's public health, or it could be psychology or engineering or whatever. The trick is and Edinburgh is the most successful university in Scotland in research. Of course it is, our jewel in the crown. But the trick is then, is there anything you can do as a whole university that will get your whole community excited about? And which partners then can you engage with to make that happen? So it really is about you finding the special one or two things that as an institution you commit to engaging in. And that's over and above everything that you normally do. But that needs you to invest. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. You know that we don't have a huge amount of money, you saw the figures. But I think we've achieved a great deal of value from that small amount. And it then attracts exciting people like Russ and Michelle, Mohammed Yunus. You know, they gravitate towards you because they think, my God, this is exciting. So I think that's going to be the trick. And also, Edinburgh works with fantastic companies. And you talked about corporate social responsibility, which could be seen as charity on the side. But shifting that charity on the side to being incorporated into the business model, as Paul Polman and Unilever is trying to do, is clearly the way forward. And Edinburgh could take a huge lead in that by partnering with somebody like Unilever or Paul Polman. I know Paul's looking for intellectual partners for the next stage of his journey, now that he's seen off Kraft and Heinz and their takeover. So it's just that, what did we want? What do you think we could achieve? But then, remember, Oxford say that's not our job. Our job is just to teaching and research and be the best research that we can be. So it would mean a shift from Edinburgh saying, no, we can do more if we come together and take the common good up as a project.
Impact in the EAUC. That was fantastic, really heartening. How do you ensure that every student at your university, in their formal programme, their formal curriculum, is exposed to the values and that common good ethos? So how is it designed into the curriculum?
Well, there's two ways. We actually have rewritten the core curriculum, and it's called the Common Good Curriculum. And we did that because we became a partner in the EAUC network in the United States, a network of socially innovative universities. And we were given that as the project because that's where we were moving, to have, if you like, elements of climate justice, of social business, and challenging. It's not all good. Elements of these kinds of initiatives that we're leading in as a university as a whole, woven into the curriculum, whether you're a nurse or whether you're an engineer. And that common thread of the common good curriculum is woven right through everything that everybody does. And then we complement that with opportunities, as you saw, to engage in our volunteering programme. And every year, 5,000 of our 15,000 students in Glasgow volunteer to reach out, whether it's to help Chile after the earthquake a few years ago, whether it's to work systematically on the Pelopeppa train. And we take out our lawyers, even though they're Scottish trained lawyers in Scottish law, but they get out there, to do pro bono work on the trains, grappling with the African legal systems to see if they can help colleagues. So it doesn't matter what you're studying, the commitment to being globally networked allows us to fashion internships and opportunities, which not all of our students want to take. A lot of them are more comfortable in going back out to the East End to do work, or working in Drumchapel, and we recognise that, but we just make sure that the opportunities for that, seeing the world in the round, it's a bigger place, seeing how people solve the problems from really, really poor backgrounds and impoverished conditions. But it's not easy to do it.
Thank you. As the Scotland's Rural College, it's easy to forget how important agriculture is when we're in a country like this. In comparison to, say, Africa, you mentioned agriculture in passing. I wondered what you felt about that, and whether agriculture is something to escape from, or deliver a solution?
Well, it is the latter, obviously, and there's huge debate about what should be done. But we actually know that the people who are working the land, and whether you're in Myanmar or whether you're in India or Bangladesh, the people who are working the land are in the heart of Africa, tend to be women, with the men organising it. So what Tahseen Jaffrey has been doing is looking at propositions where she can support the upskilling and training of women. But it's working in small groups, small localities, and the big challenge for Africa, isn't it, is to be able to scale up those solutions to the wider level. And whether that's going to be through technological development or GM crop development, you know, it's a huge challenge to us, and something that was discussed at COP21. But I do think it's very, very important, and would welcome any tips. I'm sure Tahseen would welcome some tips from you. And we need to work more collaboratively and across elite, non-elite boundaries. You know, I'm not having a go anywhere. But, you know, we've got so much to offer in Scotland, but there's still huge internal competition. You know, it's extraordinary that we could do so much more if we did collaborate.
Hi there, Matthew from the University of Edinburgh. Fantastic presentation, really inspiring. I just wanted to know how you provide the opportunities to all your staff, be that academics or professional staff, to engage with the values around about the common good. So is that through HR practices, through volunteering, or kind of further education as well?
Yeah, it's actually all through. So we have HR development opportunities, but the values work we've done in the university over the last 5 years have been critically important, led by an academic from a School for Engineering and Built Environment, Caroline Parker. So she really has taken the values and identified all the case studies in the university, and then represented them to the university and got the whole staff together with this amazing day with all of the work that they're doing, a lot of it unsung. A lot of people volunteer, you know, and do things in their private life that maybe they don't want to talk about. And then they were walking around our Saltire Centre, our big library centre, thinking, oh my goodness, so-and-so's doing the same as me. Now if we got together, I wonder what benefit we could bring. So that values work has been absolutely critical. And like every university, we provide development opportunities, whether it's working in the United Nations, whether it's going to one of these fantastic retail companies, you know, working in Bloomberg, where we had our last CEO meeting. So all of the normal things that universities do are important, but at the heart of it is that values piece. And getting the university to recognise how good it is. Every university, you know, is good at this, but it's that finding a way of recognising it and sharing it.
Can I just say, I think we could have probably spent all morning asking Pamela questions and benefiting from listening to her answers. I found that a very, very refreshing keynote speech today. And there are some things that certainly I latched onto there and I connected with, and different people will have connected with different things. I liked the concepts about an integrated approach to sustainability and a holistic approach. I liked the idea about sticking true to your roots and principles, and the idea that the university here in the centre of Glasgow has a real focus on the common good, and that 34% of its students are attracted from the socially most disadvantaged areas in the city. I love the idea of no waste to landfill, and I think guys from our organisation will be picking up the phone and phoning people at Glasgow Caledonian and saying, how do you do that? I'm interested in learning more. I love the links about social justice and integrating that with sustainability and environmental sustainability, human rights, the international supply chain, getting back to construction, right at the heart of that chain. I love the concept of self-repairing concrete. We've got a pothole outside our house. That would be fantastic if we had self-repairing concrete. I love the links to the fashion industry as well, and Pamela doesn't know this, but my son went to Glasgow Caledonian University as a school pupil, so he was like one of the pupils in one of the slides there. He was doing hires and then advanced hires at school, and he didn't really know what he wanted to do. And he went to Glasgow Cali for half a day a week on Wednesday afternoon, and he studied fashion design. And he was top of his class in fashion design. And then he did an internship for a company in London, and then he became an assistant designer, and then he became their top designer. And last year, when Samantha Cameron was standing on the doorstep of Downing Street, and her husband was handing in his resignation, she was wearing one of my son's dresses, and he was at Glasgow Cali just a few years before. And he's 25 years old now, and he's setting up his own company in Sydney, in Australia.
That's great. I'm pitching
So
that.
I loved all of that. I loved some of the phrases there. Ethical leadership, wearing your values, and the phrase invest in doing the right thing. So I thought that was an excellent, thought-provoking keynote speech, delivered with integrity, and it enthused me and inspired me. Pamela, thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex.